spring of 2020 happened, and I was down the hall with a couple of our staff members, and someone said, "Did you hear that the government might be implementing a lockdown for 2 weeks?" This would have been in March of 2020.
Mhm.
And I sort of had the response that most people probably had: a what? A lockdown? What is that? I've never heard of such a thing. And then we had this surreal experience that I'd never even comprehended, where the government said we need everybody to stay home for 2 weeks. So my first thought is, well, how do we minister to our people? And in hindsight, I would have played it differently because I know a lot more now. But this was literally on a Wednesday or Thursday, and we had to decide by Friday in order to prepare for Sunday. So we whipped up a live stream, and we went live stream, and everybody stayed home for a couple of weeks. And then all of a sudden that's extended to 4 weeks and 6 weeks and 8 weeks. And very quickly I just thought to myself, this can't happen. This fixation on biotic health with no consideration for spiritual health, mental health, or frankly, the lordship of Christ over the ministry and worship of the church is unacceptable. So I met with my elders, and I said, I want to write a letter to our premier. So the premier is like the highest governing official of a Canadian province. And I want to write a letter to the premier because all of these edicts were coming down on a provincial level, similar to like a state level. And I wrote this letter that basically said, you need to allow us to reopen our church, or we're opening it anyway. It was much more sophisticated than that, but that was the basic gist of it. And before we sent it, I thought to myself, maybe it would be wise to consult some other churches to see if we could get some more signatures on this letter, because we knew there was a political dimension to this. We ultimately secured the signatures of 445 churches,
Wow.
which just in our own province. And we sent that to the Ford government. That's our premier. That led to a meeting with the government, provincial government lawyers, and the deputy minister of health. And we had a lawyer with us because we knew there was a legal component to this. And we had a couple of rabbis actually that joined our cause. And the short story is we were able to renegotiate or negotiate the opening of the churches in early June of 2020. And in hindsight, I believe that was quite shocking. It sort of came out of the blue, but there was a legal threat attached to that from us to the government, which tipped me off to how much of this is political.
Mm-hmm.
So we got the churches reopened in June. And then, of course, throughout the summer of 2020 and coming into the fall, you started hearing rumors of maybe a second lockdown. And that's when we just made a decision that we were going to resist any further intrusions by the state, that it was unjustified.